Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Boring Enterprise Nerds show and tell video series. With me, as usual, is my partner in crime, Paul Moderman. And we have really exciting guest today. Björn Schulz is joining us. Björn has been posting really excellent blog posts on the Software Heroes website. I really encourage everyone to go read them. Björn is an
Yes.
SAP developer. And yeah, he has been, Björn, really thank you for doing this. You have been filling the niche that was left behind by SAP community. So we're really excited
Yep.
to have you with us today. Björn, why don't you say hello and just say a few words about who you are, what you do to introduce yourself?
Mhm. Hello. Hey, hello everyone. So I'm Björn Schulz. I'm working in Cologne at Rewe Digital at the moment. I'm an IT software engineer and normally doing things like the guidelines for our developers, configure the ATC, for example, or
Mm,
develop some prototypes. So that's
mm.
my main fact. And doing some of the strategy where we want to go with ABAP and Fiori in the next time, and ABAP Cloud also. So that's my main topics at the work at the moment.
Nice, nice. ABAP Cloud. That was exciting. So Björn, you wanted to share with us, I believe, some tools that you have developed and shared with everyone on your website. So if you're ready, please go ahead and let's just go into sharing. And Paul and I, we will just ask questions,
We will
whatever
just
whatever
be
comes. We'll
peanut
be like,
gallery. Yep.
yeah, exactly. So we will throw some questions at you if that's okay.
Yes, sure. So we will start. So I'm sharing. Okay. So normally I would say I would start with a room tour, but today we have no room, so I will start with a page tour. Um, so that's Software Heroes was the idea I've started many years ago. I think 6 years ago now. It was a platform for all my development stuff. I've started with Flutter also with web development. So you will find more than only SAP on this page.
I love Flutter. I love Flutter. I love that.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say Flutter is gonna flutter, Paul's wings.
Okay. So I've also created some apps for the Google Play Store, for example,
Mm,
but it's now 3 or 4 years ago, and now I'm focusing more on the SAP stuff at the
mm.
moment. So there were many tools I've built because I saw the need. I need them for myself, so I thought I built them public so everyone can use them. And normally you will find the stuff over the menu. I think the normal person will go on the blog, for example, because they read the articles on the blog, but if you have also the menu. And on the menu, you find normally the SAP start page. That's an overview page where you can find the tools, you can find the blog, you can find some overviews I've created.
Nice.
These overviews are to
Beautiful.
get an overview on the topic, for example. Let me think. I think the first topic I've started was the modern ABAP thing,
Mm.
because I needed something for myself to say, okay, that's the old stuff, that's the new stuff I can do with it. And also I've created, I think for every statement you will see here, I've created a blog in the past, some years ago, I think now.
Mm.
So you will find some of the input there. And so normally the people are going on this link, but there's also this small link here behind, and there you will see all the content
Ooh.
behind there. And normally you can see more links here than on the start page, for example.
Mhm.
Because when I create a new tool, I normally start in alpha phase and then go to beta phase. And so the tools were listed here, but the normal people don't say it because they normally start on the start page.
Mm.
I mean, the tools are like your beloved children, and they have growing up phases, right? Of
Yes.
alpha, and you go in the corner, and now you're a big boy, and you can go over here, and yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yes, that's the normal flow for me. And I wanted to start, but with a special tool I've started. It's not in the tool list here, because there is a little, I would say, app store on this page.
Mm.
This was also an idea when I started, to build little apps that are decoupled from the page. So we have an app page here, and there are some apps I've created for myself mostly, but also I think the last app was my community app that was built for the community. So the idea behind this was to get a better overview of the content on sub-community. Because sub-community with a new release, it was little bit messy to find the stuff, the actual stuff, the latest content, for example. So before I go in this app, I would normally show the first page where I started. This is the sub technology blocks. Jelena tested it before and said, "Oh, there are some bugs," and I said, "Oh, sorry, it is in beta actually." So there was the idea to implement all the boards. Normally, the blocks are divided in boards on the SAP content, and the topics are divided into the products. That's the data model behind the blocks side, or behind the community side. And Marianne Zeiss posted a blog about what's going on with sub-community and the content and the creators and what's going on. And I'm asked him where do we get this content? And he said, hey, there's a standard Chorus API behind this. So he sent me the link to the documentation. I started to read the documentation and said, okay, looks fine. So I started to play a little bit with the API to said, oh, where can I get the content? What's the structure behind the website? And so I thought maybe there's a way to build an enter page to get the content on an easier way. So you can choose actually the boards. The boards is normally set to all. This is not set to all, but I can set ABAP development, for example, set the numbers of entries. And normally when I load this, the content is fetched from the website. So I see here actual blocks. In this case, sorted by the newest above. Newest block. So that's a point for me what was missing on the web page because I only find the relevant content but not the actual content.
This is great because like I mean, set aside the other problems. The problem of just finding what you want to go find is such a it's kind of a miss in the current world of like I get lost in the SAP community site now, and this is like I have used this tool myself before and seen things like it, and like this is how I would actually go find something to read there. I wouldn't go through the site itself to do that.
And I mean, they honestly, again, made this borderline impossible to consume because I honestly don't know what even was the train of thought behind this, because if you look at for example, where all these blogs that we're looking at fit in right now, you can see technology blogs by SAP, technology blogs by members, but as a reader, I couldn't care less whether the blog is written by SAP or by member, as long as it fits into my area of interest and as long as it's, adds some value with its content. And at least before that, you could easily search by blogs because they had separate kind of subdomains there. They had like blogs, like something, blah, blah, SAP. But now it's just one huge pile. And that's, I think, the main problem with this whole new community idea that it's like internet before Google. Essentially, here is pile of content and you go figure it out. And it's funny how so SAP is a I don't know how many billion-dollar corporation. They are largest German company. I don't know if they surpassed BMW or not yet, but they're getting there. And they cannot come up with convenient stuff. Like this is just I don't know, it's just mind-boggling to me. And Björn Schulz here is like just a single developer just sitting there, trying to solve little problem for everyone. So I don't know. I mean, more power to Björn here, but also very weird that the whole conglomerate cannot deliver simple things like this. So yeah, but this is yes, really really helpful, Björn. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
And maybe this will change in the future, but I think actually it's a good way to find the new content.
Yeah.
I started also with the feed reader. You have advised it to me. I saw it. I started with it, but there was too much content. I also saw all the Q&A stuff I don't want to see, and it was a little bit too much for me. Then my feed reader had, I think, 1,000 open positions to read, and I said, not the thing I want to go.
Yeah. And someone created custom feed reader, which I kind of dipped into, but I think it regularly gets broken, and then that person has to go back and fix it. So it's been just kind of frustrating, and I just gave up on that entirely. So yeah, I suspect this will probably be just easier and more efficient way to do that. So
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That was the first idea of the blog. So I say, okay, there was some adjustments in the behind because the API is not so fast when you want to have, for example, all products. That's a little bit slow, the API. So I've started to buffer some data. I built a framework behind, buffer the data so I can read it faster. Also the text behind here, these are the custom tags. So a user can define the tags, and these tags are very slow to read over the API.
Yeah.
So idea
I
was
mean, I was like, that was fast. How did that happen? Yeah. When you did that, I was like, beautiful.
Yes, the first thing I think was 30 seconds until the page was loaded before, and now it's much faster.
Yikes.
Yeah, so this was the first idea. Also that you can open the content, but the content stays on the platform. So it's only links and descriptions and so on displayed. So that was the first idea, and then I started to create the community app. The community app should provide some more features for the user, so we can start it. So you're landing on a I think it looks similar to the page, but it's a little bit off from the page. So you start with the normal feed. That's your feed, your personal feed, I would say. We have also integrated my feed in this way, but the idea was to implement more community feeds. If you have a blog, if you have an API, an HTTP API, I can also include this blog, but actually there's only my blog included. So the idea was to implement all blogs that post SAP content, for example. That was the idea behind. And one other idea was also the bookmarks. So normally I set an article, have no time to read this article. I will bookmark it in my browser normally, but there's I think, a much faster way to also sort the content for myself. That was an idea. And so also this variant you see here is configurable. So I can go into the app. The app has some navigation points. The upper points are the points you see, but you can also create variants. So if you have different interests, for example, if you want to see something for ABAP development, for steampunk, for example, you can create variants. And when you go into the variants, you can also say, okay, I want to go these boards. Normally you would say, I will activate all boards I see. And in the product, I would say what the RESTful programming model, ABAP development, ABAP cloud, what I want to see in the filter. And then I have also a settings page. In the settings page, I can set my default variant. The default variant is this variant. This is loaded when I start with the app. I can also say if I want to see some things, or for example, the boards, I don't know, or I don't want to know the boards. I don't want to see the custom text, for example, I can hide them. And that's a normal setup. So I see every time I'm starting with my feed, I see my feed for myself. That's I have defined. And there are also little functions here behind. I can set it on the bookmarks. So I can save it for a later read, for example, for myself. Or I can also say, okay, I've read this, or this article is not interesting. I don't want to see it. I can mark as read. So it will be hidden. So that is normally the flow. I would say I'm starting the app. I go through all the articles, and I see something interesting. I bookmark it me for myself, and I can also set it to read. So at the end, I'm normally seeing no articles in the view, and I can wait for new content. That's the
This
way
is
it's working.
this is cool, and it's also making me like have like my wistful memories of Google Reader for things. You know what I mean? There's tools like that that just show me what I want and strip away. Oh, it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
I just love it,
yeah.
Björn. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you. And so normally I have activated only some of the products and some of the boards. Actually, there I've added two more points in the overview. So a request board. So we see all the boards that are available in the community. There are some local boards, for example, the S. Hertogenbosch, that's from Netherlands, and also Auckland, Bamberg, events and blog posts, also
Oh,
discussions and so on. There are many, many different boards in the sub-community. So there's a very long list. So, so if you're interested in a special list, you can also set thumbs ups. And the thumb up will generate a request, so I can activate the board later, for example. If someone wishes to see a special board for himself, he can use this feature. Also, the second point for the products, so all products that are not um, in the list, you can access here. For example, API management or the Ariba when you're working with Ariba. So I've started first with the ABAP topics, ABAP and development topics, and there are many, I think, other modules that are here but are not activated at the moment.
mm.
It was a point for me because there is many data for synchronization, and said, okay, for me it's not relevant, but when it's relevant for another user that uses the app, he can request the boards, so I will activate them. But normally to save data and traffic, I'm not activated them all on the side.
It's interesting. There is some little bit of history behind this product on SAP Community that goes back to 2016 migration, because that was a time when they switched to the tags, which before that they were kind of PHP forums. So forum was just a structure that defined on SAP Community directly, but then they introduced tags, which were supposed to represent some kind of SAP product, like for example ABAP would be ABAP development would be one product, then like SD or Ariba or something like that. And
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course, I guess the task to create list of product IDs for community went to the wrong people who created super detailed list, which was obviously not suitable for consumption by
Yes.
SAP community. It was probably the whole like sales catalog for SAP, which probably makes sense for SAP sales, but again for community, you don't care to go to this level of granularity there. So I think the years were spent on paring down this list to something more consumable, and I still see like some artifacts here. Like for example, we're looking at banking, and then banking services from SAP. It's like a separate product, which probably no one really cares about to look at it that way. So yeah, some funny history behind it. Yeah, but now we're essentially dealing with consequences of what happened back then.
Yes, so it's a very, very long list. You can
Yeah.
see the scroll bar on the
Oh yeah.
side. There
Yeah.
is many, many,
Yeah.
many, many
Yeah.
products.
Yes. Wow.
But I think I will offer all the products, so everyone that is interested in the topic can request it
Yeah.
for itself. So I think also the last new feature was the notification feature. If you have a user, normally you need for the app when you want to use the app a user, because we store some data, or well, because I store some data on the page for the settings and so on. But you can also use the user with the email address, and you can set to get notifications. Then normally it takes your default feed, the default feed, and checks, okay, if there are new blocks, and you will get all the new blocks with the email, and you can see in your email all the new blocks. So you don't have to access the app or the website. You can also get the email notification for this. So you have also the time to read it later. When you say, okay, I want to have 1 time a week a notification, so I get 20 blocks a week. I can read them later, or I can access them via app.
Beautiful.
Normally work.
Just beautiful.
That was a feature someone asked for because he's missing his newsletter. I'm not sure if it was a feature in the last sub community before that you can get a newsletter with all the new content.
There were some newsletters for sure. I'm not sure what was in them exactly, but yeah, there was a special area for newsletters. I think it got gone as well in the last migration. So
Okay. So that's I think that's everything I want to share. That's READ info. Also, you find all your read articles also here, the read list. If you want to set them to the actual list, I have set this to red, but I can set this also back so I can find it on my feed again if I've accidentally clicked it.
Awesome.
So that's a feature. So that's a sub community. I think it should be a help for the community to find the new content on the site, also to get some notifications for the new content. And that's one of the tools I want to show.
Yeah.
Any questions?
What technology do you build this stuff with?
Oh, I couldn't tell this. No, it's a PHP site. PHP with JavaScript. So JavaScript.
Tried and true.
Exactly.
Trusted. It works. Solid.
Yes, it works.
Yep.
The whole framework was built with PHP from my side. So I've started many years ago with this framework.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was to build some own content on the site, to have the possibility to build tools quickly, to build some apps on the site. And so there was an idea. I wanted full flexibility, so I've built this whole framework with PHP because this was a language I know.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's many JavaScript code for the front end stuff, for the buttons, for the displays, for the actions on also.
Awesome.
Good.
I'm a big fan of PHP as a consumer. I think those old-timey PHP forums were the best, honestly.
Yeah.
And everything after that is just superficial.
Mm-hmm. So I would like to go to the next tool. It's a little tool for where it is, the field mapping list. Was a list actually in beta because the extractor is not finally. There are some minor bugs because there are always cast case apps and different statements in core data services. So the field list is a list. I will start it so that we can see it. Is a list for users that want to know, I have a core data service from SAP. So what's the table behind it? And also what's the field behind it? So you have the new long reading names, but you have also these names. I think it's the German short names, but many developers know them now because they know the tables, they know the short names. Yeah. And when you use the new core data service, so you have the problem. Okay, that's my old table. I want to know if is this the field I want to use.
Yeah.
But also you have also the problem that some new views have a stack of, I think, 1, 2, or 3 core data service where you have to go through until to the database. And so the idea was to have a list. You can check, okay, I have a field. What's the new field in the core data service without checking all the stacks of core data services in the system. Also, they have the possibility to check the data without an SAP system. So normally when you're doing concepts, you have, maybe you have no system, you have to write a concept and you want to describe, for example, tables or the new data access. So you have a possibility for this. Also,
amazing. Yep.
Yeah. That's honestly awesome because I like CDS views as much as the next person, but I always have this problem exactly like you described. I know the database field names. I know what I want to get, but in CDS view, sometimes honestly long names are not that obvious, and then you have to drill down 3 levels deep to confirm whether it actually goes to the field that you think it goes to, because sometimes you run it and it's like, I'm not seeing the value, so what's the deal? And then you find that description is not what you would expect, or it goes to some other table field or whatever. It's been, I don't know, perennial frustration, I think, since CDS views came about.
Yelena, I was talking to Mike Berg about some of this stuff
Hmm.
or related stuff. Shout out to Mike Berg. We'll tag his name or whatever when we post this. But he and I came up with like the alternate job description for like ABAP developers and ABAP architects and that kind of stuff, which is ABAP archaeologists,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to dig through layers of time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
to go find like you might know the concept for this, that, whatever that you did 20 years ago, or that somebody's asking about now, and you have to like dust off the pottery, right, from the old site, you know what I mean, that has
Yeah.
the answer to what you're actually looking for your whatever need
Yeah.
is going on.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, exactly. So this was one idea, I think. So I've also decided to add not released views.
Nice.
Mm.
I got a list from Lukas Brettschneider. I don't know if you know him.
Mm-hmm.
He got me a list from extraction where he find all the views and fields for also not released views. Normally you can see all the views that are released for ABAP Cloud. So you know, okay, that's views I can use. But there are many other views in the system that are not released, but from some tables you won't find a released view.
Yeah.
So there will also be the option for not released later. There are actually only 5 views, I think, but the list from Lucas is, I think there were 10,000 core data services.
Wow.
So I have to migrate them first, and then you can display them here. But you have also the possibility to search fields. For example, I want to new it's from the finance module, the company
Mm-hmm.
code.
Yeah.
So you can search after a field. So you will find also
Nice.
where the field is included in which core data services, for example. So you can find all the core data services with the company code inside. But you can also search for tables. You can also search for core data services or for the new names, for example. This is all possible with the view.
Nice.
So the idea was also to make it public. So normally you can use the website, but I think it was Sören Schlegel that asked me if I will publish the content also to the GitHub repository. So everyone could normally use it. So the data for the view is stored in the GitHub repository.
Oh, beautiful.
Mm.
You find some JSON files for the not released views, for example, for the core data service data, and in the files, it's loading. So you can also find the mappings, the journal entry, AC.A, and all the field mappings for this. So you can reuse it, for example, in an ABAP program. You can reuse it on your own web page. You can reuse it in a Fiori application. So there are all possibilities. And I've also included the extractors for this. So you can check or can reuse the extractor for
Oh,
yourself.
nice.
So there's all the stuff and code inside
Mm.
from the extractor. And I started with the idea to use ABAP Cloud ready APIs to extract the data, but I've throw away this idea because the extractors only read released APIs, released core data services.
Mm.
And when you dig through the layers, there are many core data services that are not released, also the table on the bottom. So I've thrown away the object and used another object to extract the data. It's also from the XCO library, from the new libraries.
Mhm.
Mm.
But there are libraries for ABAP Cloud, but there are also libraries you can use in your tier 3 and you can use on your on-premise system. So I've used them to extract the data.
Mm.
So that was the first idea. And then I thought, I think many times I have an idea and said, okay, that's something I've missing for me. But I also think, okay, now I have the data. What can I do next with it?
Mm.
So I've started with the second tool. It's the newest tool based on this tool. It's the select converter was a little idea. Okay, now I have a complex select statements, and I have to search the fields. I have to search the tables. Why I don't integrate a converter that's doing this stuff for me automatically? So that was the idea. So the developer can take an statement. For example, I will take an easy statement for this. I can put in the easy statement, a normal select statement in this case, and I can convert it on a new entity, on the new fields, and so on. So it's a tool
I
that you
love
need
it.
for your migration
Nice.
later.
Nice. Yeah, because
But
that's yes. So sorry, that's what I think developers with experience like myself and my Burke already mentioned. It's not that we struggle, but it's I know your first select statement. I can write it like you wake me up in the middle of the night. I can write it for you. I know
Yeah.
all the fields, tables, etc., and all the CDS views. Now it's different. So constantly sitting there and like, okay, I want to do it in new and better way, but what's the easiest way to do that? And this is just magic to me. So yeah, really well done. Thank you.
But still, yes, but still it's in the beta phase. I saw many errors. I'm checking the content users are testing in the tool. So I've get some ideas what's wrong with the tool. For example, I find some bugs I have to fix also. And I think the complex statements are, for example, joins. I have here longer with a join because there are more tables, you have more fields, you have the aliases, and this stuff here. These are much more complex statements. And this one is working now. So I can show it. It's converting all the statements now, but there are also some minor bugs in it at the moment. So it's not finally, I think AI will do it better, maybe. But I'm not an AI developer, so I'm starting with find and replace. I think it's an easier way for me to do
A
this.
smart a smart AI developer would actually steal the source code of your tool and create a tool inside the AI that does this. It's a very common practice in AI actually, right? To have your AI agent and then the agent has like a Batman utility belt of tools. I seriously like I would add this tool to the AI's Batman utility belt to do this stuff because like this would do it better than what an AI would because this knows the translation of the fields and the stuff. And the AI is not always right about that, right? It's more loosely trained on the internet, right? So this is
Yes.
yeah. This is you're Björn, you're helping to enable Skynet right here because somebody's gonna steal and put this in their AI.
So when Skynet can help me to migrate my code, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, I accept my robot overlords, right?
Nice.
Yes, do the stuff for me. The idea behind this is also to make a public API available. So someone that have more experience in Java development, for example, can integrate it in ADT, for example. It's an idea behind this. So this can send the select statement to the API converts it, and it's going back to the ADT.
Nice. Yeah.
Maybe that's the point.
Yeah.
But I'm not so good in Java development, so I need a buddy for this.
Nice. So out to our viewers and listeners, there here you go. If you want to contribute to the goodness of SAP
Yeah,
world,
please.
many opportunities out there. So, yeah, and you see that Bjorn kindly shared his source with everyone. So feel free to contribute. Awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Very awesome. Very awesome.
So I think the last or maybe one, two tools to show is a common problem, I think, in the SAP world is the translation problem, how to translate sources, how to translate texts. It's a personal problem for me because we've started with translation when we have started with the ABAP environment in 2020. So there is an app in the ABAP environment. You can download the content you want to translate, but then there is no way from SAP. They said, okay, you can give it to a translate office, you can translate it for your own, you can use tools for this. So there's no real way how to translate these sources. So normally in our company, we've installed some free open source software for this case, but I think installing new products on your computer is not the best way. You need normally a tool where you can put in your text and translate it without any installation.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe there is a way on the BTP. There's a translate hub, but normally you need a license for the translate hub. And so I thought, okay, normally our users, our developers translate their apps for themselves. So I've built a little tool. This little tool is for the XLIF files that are created from the app in the cloud. It's also available for the on-premise. On-premise, there is also the maintain translation app where you can download your translations and you can take the file and I can load it. And this, where is it? Some test files in this case. So I load the file and normally it shows the translation you do. So you have the some informations about what you're translating, a different object, for example. It's a core data service label in this case, or it's from the metadata file. And so you can start it's a source file from US to Germany, to German, for example. And you can start with your translation. For example, this one. From data source to Datenquelle. And when you're ready, you can also download it. It's on a one-way download in this case. Normally don't want to save the data. I delete it from my server. So it's a one-time download. When I download the file, it's away. It's deleted from the server. And you have it on your computer. So you can use it. And I can show it with, you can also use files you have translated in the past. For example, this file, you find the translated text therein. So it's a simple tool. Normally, I would say I need this in ADT because when I develop the objects, I also want to translate them. But the tool is for the step between. So you can use it at the moment to translate all your content and to upload it later in the app again.
Yep.
Nice.
Very nice. Very, very handy for sure.
Yeah, translation functionality in SAP unfortunately has been pretty clunky, to say the least. We in the US we normally don't really care for translations because everybody speaks English, but it's not uncommon to have international projects. We had one, for example, with company in Mexico where we had to do loads of Spanish translations. And yeah, that's where we recognize that it's not as simple as it appears to be. So yeah, pretty So yeah, definitely will be helpful for many people.
Yes, yeah. We have started also. Normally we develop our applications in German, but now we are also developing them first in English and then translate them to German. So not the fallback language is always English in this case. And for us, it's normal to do the translation for ourselves. We do not have a translate office. We do not have special persons that translate. Normally the developer translates his app.
Nice. Oh, hey, maybe SAP can use this tool as well. I still see some German names a lot in the system. So it's about
yeah, sell it to them. Make up a few $1 million or a few million euros. Yeah.
So this is ripe for acquisition.
So maybe they buy the site so they can use the tool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, it's free for everyone. It's free to use, so they can use it. But normally, I think SAP will also take the translate office for this.
Yeah.
And the developers translating not for themselves.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, I think one more tool, one last tool. I think
Sure. Yeah.
It's a preparation for an article series I'm planning at the moment. It's I'm starting or I'm thinking about
Oh.
some
I
common.
I saw this one. I saw this one. This back a few years ago, I was building some tools for OData stuff, and it was outside of SAP, like calling it SAP to do things, and the setup of the batch requests
Mm.
was the worst
Yeah.
freaking part of that stinking tool. So like I see you, I see you, and I appreciate you on this right here.
Yes, this is a tool I'm planning for in a series. It's about REP patterns, upper RESTful programming patterns. I've seen a lot of patterns in the last time. You can implement an API pattern, for example, and in an API pattern, you normally test with OData batch requests.
Mm.
Mhm.
So you can test if you have a payload, a bigger payload on your service, and you have to create a
Yeah.
payload. And I've read some articles in the subcommunity about this OData batch request, and I always figured out how to place the empty lines and what I need for the request. It was a little bit clunky for me.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I need a tool that can automatically create the requests. This one is normally this one I would say is alpha phase. I've tested it a little bit, so I can take the metadata file from the OData service in this case.
Mhm.
I would take which one? Too many. I would say this one. I can load the metadata. The metadata loads the entities from the OData. So I have an action part here. In this case, I have the output in the up and the lower part of the formula, and I can set a new action. So I can choose the entity. These are all the entities from the
From the
metadata file
metadata.
in this case.
Mm.
So I take the reviews, for example. I have an operation. I want to get a get request or create or update or delete something. In this case, I want to create, for example, and also if I have a single data set or with filter, but I think that it's relevant for the get method.
Mm.
So I have that. Now I can add also some more requests in this case. Let me set a transport and an update request. And after I've finished all the operations I want to do, I can create the file, and it's creating the request
Mm.
with some unique IDs, for example, so I can reuse this. I have it's only some dummy payload. It's more for for to see where, for example, is a date field in the
Mm.
request. So I know the data types of the fields
Yep.
and can change the content for this. There's also all the content in there, or the change set, batch set, and so on. So I can use it for testing or for a faster testing in this case.
Nice.
But I think I have to test it a little bit more because the series is not started at the moment, so I have time to do the preparation for the tool. But I think it's actually, I think 80% it's working. I have to test it more.
So, okay, so Björn, I'm curious, of the tools you've shown, which one was your favorite one to build?
Ooh, they're all good.
It's like asking
I,
about your favorite child, Paul.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious, right? Because
yeah.
sometimes you have like a tweaky little problem that you're like, oh, I'm so glad I solved this problem or whatever. But I'm just curious if any of these had like one of those like eureka moments of like, oh, I can do this now kind of thing.
Okay, that's a hard question or a tough question for me because they're all new tools, I think. They're
Hmm.
solving different problems. I think, for example, the OData batch request is a thing you never you use not so often normally.
Mm.
It's not the typical use case. For me, it's more the community part, I think, because the sub community is a tool I'm often using. I go into see my feed, my actual feed. I
Hmm.
see all the new topics. I can
Hmm.
bookmark them to myself. That's a tool I'm often using for myself also. But for example, the core data services and the select converter are, I think, a problem I will have in the
Yeah.
future.
Yep.
For all the stuff we
Yeah.
migrate at the moment from R3 to or from ECC to S4 system, so I think that will be a tool that will help me much more than the other tools.
Mm, hmm. Hmm.
Nice.
Okay. Nice. Nice. I love them all.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Björn, for sharing this with us. And yeah, I really appreciate, especially variety of all these tools. So some of them are just purely community oriented, and some are just very technical. But it also reflects, I think, day of life in a typical SAP developer, where
Mhm.
we kind of deal with all of those things. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing
This
this.
is this just has that beautiful flavor of like these were created by a person who does these things,
Yeah,
right? You do this, and so you know. If I just love this stuff.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I know all the stuff, all the problems, I think, with these things, and so I've
Yeah,
built the tools to solve these problems. But I think the problems are not only my problems. The problems maybe have every developer has these problems.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they are also public. They are free. Just use them.
Awesome. So yeah, yeah. So really, I'm kind of yeah. I'm excited to try again your SAP feed. Maybe I can get back to reading. I have been neglecting that for a while. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. All right. So any last words, comments before we close up?
Words of wisdom.
Yeah, words of wisdom.
I would say stay active in the community. It's
Mm,
helping in the
Yeah,
community, helping other developers is an active and important part for also for the future,
yeah,
I think.
yeah. So be like Bjorn. So that's it. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you so much, Bjorn, again for joining us today and spending your time on building all these awesome tools and sharing them for free, surprisingly, which definitely something we would like to see more. And everyone, will see you next time. And please go and use Bjorn's tools and send him feedback and do some testing. So let's support him and people who are like him. So
yeah.
thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.